Hello, Michael Tracy here. So, one of the hallmarks of any conspiracy theory and of conspiracy thinking in general is that the narrative that one has woven to explain complex events is non falsifiable. So, any new evidence which might seem to contradict the theory that you've constructed actually is further confirmation of the theory, because the conspiracy is ever expanding and encompasses an ever growing number of facets. So that seems to be happening with the Russia frenzy, which oddly has been on the back burner for the past couple days after the Russia strikes last Thursday, ordered by Trump. But it's not going away quite yet. Joy Reid, who has been one of the leading proponents of this incredibly insane frenzy, of course, spent a portion of her MSNBC show yesterday discussing it, and here's what her show's Twitter feed tweeted out. Quote, "We find ourselves in a strange agreement with Russia, wherein we will not shoot at their soldiers in Syria." So that's taken to be a bad thing by Joy Reid, or something that should arouse suspicion that Trump has brokered a, quote, strange agreement with Russia not to kill their military personnel and then guarantee a further escalation of hostilities, possibly to catastrophic proportions. And remember, Barack Obama also had an agreement with Russia to coordinate various military efforts in Syria. I don't know if Joy and Reid regarded that particular agreement as strange, but it definitely, as a matter of fact, did exist. So it would have been incredibly dangerous for Trump and military officials working under Trump to not notify Russia and to simply risk that Russian personnel might have been obliterated in one of these Tomahawk missile strikes. And I wouldn't put it past Trump to forego that formality in the future and escalate tensions with Russia. But just think about this incentive. I've been talking a lot about the incentive structure that Trump is operating under. And if this is the main line of criticism that's coming at him from the center left, the liberal left, to the MSNBC crowd, that he's being too solicitous of Russia and that he would have to demonstrate his independence of Russia by behaving even more belligerently in Syria than he already has and risking catastrophic conflict. Probably because Trump craves validation from the media, despite his anti-media posturing. That might factor into his decision-making going ahead. So, I mean, Joy Reid, she's one of the most duplicitous and just self-evidently ridiculous media commentators who's gotten a rising profile of late. But now she's truly dangerous in that she's applying this Russia conspiracy that Democrats have been so obsessed with for so long to the now ongoing Syria conflict, or a conflict against the Syrian government, which was commenced last week. And this is all liable to result in something that is highly incendiary and liable to produce some kind of cataclysmic confrontation. That's always been the fundamental danger of the Russia hysteria that's been stoked. I mean, Trump is not somebody who you want to give the benefit of the doubt in terms of being able to carry out prudent and sober military engagements. So if he's now taking a barrage of criticism from Joy Reid and other people on MSNBC that he's still not free of the accusations of colluding with Russia because he happened to notify Russian authorities prior to the strike, then who knows what that could lead to. Another interesting tweet along these lines came from this person called Matthew Chapman. I don't know if you happen to be familiar with this gentleman. He is a blogger or a writer or whatever the term is for the David Brock propaganda outfit ShareBlue. Previously, what was the name of that entity previously? It was something stupid anyway. Matthew Chapman is pretty convinced that Russia is complicit in the chemical weapons attack. He is 100% complicit, so no more investigation required for Matthew Chapman. He is on board with the Trump administration interpretation, apparently, of these events. And Matthew Chapman demands something has to be done. At this point, I don't know if some kind of military conflict can be avoided. So Matthew Chapman, who is one of David Brock's propagators, he, along with Reid, they are on board with military conflict against Russia. Now they're explicit about it. Previously, they have been rather implicitly agitating for direct confrontation with Russia, but now it's kind of all above board, and this is the outcome that they're apparently seeking to achieve. It's ironic because that means that they are in favor of Trump's strike, at least to some extent. Maybe they think that he didn't go far enough, but at the very least, they are in support of Trump's action in attacking the Assad target last week. And of course, Matthew Chapman's big enemy that he's furious about is none other than Tulsi Gabbard. And she accuses Tulsi Gabbard of, quote, parroting pro-Assad Kremlin conspiracy theories. Now, I did a video about Tulsi Gabbard under attack last night, and I read to you some quotes that are being portrayed by these Chapman and Reid types as beyond the pale. And all Tulsi Gabbard has done is say that we ought to be skeptical about the findings of these intelligence agencies, which are supposed to give impetus to Trump to just act however he wants unilaterally abroad. And remember, in 2013, the intelligence apparatus similarly concluded that Assad was responsible for the August the strike, the chemical attack in August of that year that led Obama to announce that he intended to strike Assad, and that was eventually abandoned after it seemed untenable in Congress, and a deal was brokered with Russia. So that was Obama colluding with Russia back in 2013 to remove the chemical weapons from Syria. But later on, people like Seymour Hersh said that intelligence was cherry-picked, and that outfits like the Al-Nusra Front or Al-Qaeda also had access to sarin gas, and that there was a non-trivial likelihood that they had a role in bringing about that chemical weapons incidents. So that's just to say the case is not yet settled. And then Peter Hitchens, who I actually interviewed for TYT a couple weeks ago, he reminds us that although politicians now state with absolute certainty that the 2013 chemical weapons attack was the work of Assad, if you actually look at the United Nations Security Council report on the atrocity, it doesn't actually attribute culpability to any one actor. It's certainly not kind to Assad, and nobody should be. He's obviously a despotic ruler and has caused the deaths of many. But in terms of this particular chemical weapons attack in 2013, it doesn't actually assert, at least this particular investigation, that Assad was solely culpable. So that's another myth that's going around. Anyway, this is all to say that, bizarrely enough, we're getting to a point where the Brock acolytes, the David Brock kind of brigades, they are on board sort of with the Trump administration in terms of how they're approaching this conflict. So I don't know if Matthew Chapman is interested in enlisting in the armed forces, but I'm sure his efforts would be appreciated. Maybe he can blog from the battlefield, because what you have earlier today is the AP reporting that, quote, a senior U.S. official says that the U.S. has concluded. So debate over, no doubt tolerated any further. The U.S. has concluded, according to this unnamed official, that Russia knew in advance of Syria's chemical weapons attack last week. So that goes to what Matthew Chapman had spewed, that Russia should be taken as culpable for this attack, and therefore they've committed the act of war that supposedly justified the strike against Assad last week. So on that logic, what's stopping military retaliation against Russia directly? I don't. Where does this end? Anyway, the stage is being set. I don't know who this senior U.S. official is. When you get U.S. officials, basically making the case for war in public without having the temerity to actually put their names to it, you can be assured that there is a pretty vigorous propaganda offensive underway, and it just keeps escalating. So who knows what exactly the Trump administration's intentions are here in terms of further action. They have explicitly left open the door to additional strikes, but at the very least, the political climate is such that it is not unforeseeable at all that some kind of open hostilities could commence in the relatively close future. So that is the update for now. Hope everyone had a good day, notwithstanding this insanity, and I will talk to you later.